Chapter 2. Hannah sat in the back of the car next to Zach, biting her lip. Mom had gotten sick of her asking if they were almost there, and she told Hannah she'd turn the car around if she said it again. But Hannah was just so desperate to know. "Look, there's a sign for Mill Green," Dad said, taking pity on her. "Not far now." Hannah nodded, staring hopefully out the window. Then she laughed and pointed out a sign standing in the yard of a house just ahead. "Look, it's all spotty." Mom put her turn signal on. "That has to be it," she said. "Yes, it says Dashing Dalmatians." She parked the car in the driveway. Hannah could hear excited barking as she got out of the car and ran to help Zach undo his car seat straps. "We're here, Zach, going to see the dogs." "Dogs!" Zach clapped his hands excitedly. Already, a friendly-looking woman was opening the door of the house, and beside her, Hannah caught her breath at the sight. There were two big Dalmatians. They were so beautiful, snow white with a dappling of glossy black spots all over. "Dog, dog, dog!" Zach squeaked delightedly, jumping up and down, pulling on Hannah's hand. The owner of the dogs laughed. "Somebody's excited. I'm Lisa, and this is Robbie and Bella. They're very friendly. You can pet them. Just watch your little brother, though, won't you?" "The dogs are a lot bigger than he is, and they might knock him over by accident." Hannah nodded. "I'll hold his hand," she promised. "He loves dogs. We both do." She stretched out her free hand to Bella, who sniffed it interestingly, and then gave her a gentle lick. Zach giggled. "I don't mind," Hannah sighed, and stroked Bella's soft nose and around her silky spotted ears. Bella was so beautiful, and a dog just like Bella might be there soon. It was hard to believe. "Is Bella the mom of our puppy? The puppy who might be ours, I mean?" Hannah added hastily. She knew that Lisa would want to check them out before she allowed them to have one of her puppies. Lisa smiled. "No, she's too young to have pups just yet. She's the big sister of our new puppies. Robbie here is their dad, though. Their mom's name is Chrissy. Do you want to see them?" Hannah couldn't speak. She was so excited. She just nodded so hard her ponytail flew up and down. "Come inside and let me take your coats. They're a good age to meet now," Lisa explained as she led Hannah's family through the house, with two Dalmatians nosing at them inquisitively. 6 weeks old, their spots have come through. Although they'll still get more, you can see what they're going to look like when they're older, and they're starting to really enjoy meeting people. Hannah looked up at her mom and dad eagerly, and her dad squeezed her shoulder. "You look like you're about to meet a queen," he told her in a whisper. "I feel like I am," Hannah whispered back. "This used to be our dining room before we started breeding puppies," Lisa explained, as they came to a door at the end of the hallway. "Now we use it as a puppy room." She opened the door and let them in. A wire pen occupied about half the room, and it was full of puppies. They were tumbling and squirming over each other and their mother in black and white spotted masks. "Oh, look at them," Hannah breathed. "There are so many." "How many are there?" Hannah's dad asked Lisa. "I keep losing count." 12, Lisa smiled. "It's a huge litter, the biggest we've ever had." Hannah leaned over the wire netting to see the puppies, and Zach followed her, cooing delightedly at the beautiful little things. Chrissy, the puppy's mother, watched Hannah and Zach closely, then looked up at Lisa as if to ask if the children were safe. "It's all right, Chrissy," Lisa said gently. "I can't tell them apart," Hannah murmured, sitting down to get a closer look at the puppies rolling around the pen. "Oh, except that one. He's got a patch around his tail." The patched puppy seemed to know he was being talked about. He tottered over to the pen's fence and looked at Hannah and Zach with his head to one side. Hannah giggled at this funny little face, and the puppy jumped back in surprise. "I'm sorry, I didn't mean to scare you," Hannah told him gently. "I only laughed because you're so sweet." The puppy edged closer again and stuck out a bright pink tongue to lick Hannah's fingers. She'd been gripping the wire without even realizing it. Me," Zach squeaked, making the puppy jump again. He eyed Zach suspiciously and took a step sideways, closer to Hannah. Then he leaned his head against the fence and looked up at her. Hannah tried not to laugh and scare him again, but it was so difficult. It was almost as if the puppy was talking to her. "Scratch my ears, please." The puppy sighed delightedly. as Hannah scratched behind his pretty white dappled ears. This was good. The little one was so loud and bouncy, but this girl was doing excellent ear scratching. He glared at one of his sister as she came too close. The girl was his, and he had no intention of sharing. His sister trotted away back to curl up with their mother. "Well, he's certainly taken to you," Lisa commented as she sounded pleased, and Hannah glanced at her hopefully. Did that mean they would be allowed to have a puppy? Maybe even this puppy? Hannah could see that they were all great, but this one just seemed to have chosen her. Dad had crouched down next to Hannah to look at the puppies. "Is there a particular puppy we can have?" he asked Lisa. "You mentioned something on the phone yesterday." Lisa nodded. "Yes, you know about our waiting list, of course. The puppies in this litter have all been promised to people who've been on the list for a while. They'll be going to their new homes over the next few weeks." Hannah's heart seemed to fall into her stomach. So they couldn't have one of these wonderful puppies? Mom must have misunderstood somehow. She looked down at her puppy. His eyes blissfully closed as she tickled him. He was so perfect. But one of the ladies who wanted a puppy has changed her mind. She really wants a show dog, you see, and the puppy who was left when she came to see them yesterday won't be up to showing. Mom looked confused. "Why not? They're all so beautiful. Can you really tell now whether or not they'll be show dogs?" Hannah looked around, her eyes shining. "It's this puppy, isn't it? Please say it's this one." The puppy stared up at Lisa too, as though he wanted to hear the news. He wagged his little whip-like tail with its pretty patch around the base. "Yes," Lisa smiled at her. "How did you know?" Hannah looked shy. She'd read so much about Dalmatians, but she was sure that Lisa knew a lot more, and she didn't want to sound silly. "They aren't really supposed to have patches, are they?" she murmured. Lisa nodded encouragingly, so she went on. "The puppies are supposed to be born snow white when the spots grow when they're a couple of weeks old, and they keep on growing for a long time, even until they're about a year old." She looked over at all the puppies. They were still mostly white, and their spots were only the size of raisins. But sometimes you get puppies born with black patches. She stroked the puppy's ears again. "I've never seen a picture of a puppy with a patch on his tail." "Neither have I," Lisa laughed. "He's really special, but he'd be no good in the show ring. They don't allow patches, so he can only ever be a pet." She reached over the wire netting and gently picked up the puppy, and then she held him close to Hannah. "Would you like him on your lap?" Hannah nodded. She held out her arms to cuddle the puppy, and he snuggled into her lap. Zach sat next to her, patting the puppy on the bottom, but Dad was looking worried. "If there's something wrong with him, maybe we ought to wait." "There's nothing wrong with him," Hannah protested. Her voice was sharp with fear that Dad might say no, and the puppy's eyes widened. He whimpered, unsure what was wrong. "Try not to speak too loudly," Lisa said, her voice soothing. "Dalmatians are very high-strung. You need to be calm and gentle with them." "Sorry," Hannah whispered, half to Lisa and half to the puppy. "You're doing really well," Lisa said reassuringly. Then she looked over at Hannah's dad. "He's perfectly healthy. You weren't planning to take him to shows, right?" Hannah looked hopefully at her dad. "We just want him for a pet, and he might even be better than a normal Dalmatian," she whispered. "Sometimes they can be deaf, but ones with patches usually hear fine." Lisa laughed in surprise. "You really have been doing your homework." "I love Dalmatians," Hannah told her. "I've been dreaming of having one ever since I can remember." "Hannah's right about the deafness," Lisa explained to Hannah's mom and dad, "but Chrissy and Robbie both scored well on the hearing tests, and the pups are going to be tested next week. I know they need to get lots of exercise too, and they need to spend time around people," Hannah said. "But Dad's going to take me and the puppy on long walks every day, and Mom and Zach are at home when I'm at school." "That's great. Dalmatians have tons of energy, and they get bored very easily because they're so smart," Lisa said. "You'll need to take him to training classes. I can recommend a good trainer close to you." "So we can have him?" Hannah asked, cuddling the puppy close and looking anxiously between Lisa and her mom and dad. Lisa smiled. "I think you'd give him a lovely home. He's really settled with you, and he had been very nervous with some of the other visitors." Dad nodded slowly, and Hannah laid her cheek gently against the puppy's soft head. He made a little happy cooing growl, and she giggled. "You're pleased too, aren't you, puppy?" The puppy yawned widely, showing his little pointy teeth, and curled up in Hannah's lap. He didn't look like he was going anywhere. Mom reached down to pet him. I don't think it's up to us at all. He's definitely chosen you, Hannah.